Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoges Hoganson, three avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? The Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports.
On this episode, Dan and Hoges recap the Twins' three-game series against the Cleveland Guardians. Thanks for listening. Go Twins. Thanks for listening to Men for the Win. I am Dan Thompson. With me for the first time this season together is Andrew Hoges Hoganson. He's not here next to me. We don't want to mislead you with any kind of studio commentary. We are far apart. We are in the midst of playoff runs by the Wild and by the Timberwolves. We are recording before the Timberwolves game 4 tonight. I'm going to start with that, Hoges. You teased me and David for watching games on delay at all, and it was important that we got this game in before the Timberwolves game starts. But if we hadn't been able to, would you have started the game at the beginning and then watched through? Would you have just jumped in live?
Jumped in live. Jumped in live.
How?
There's too many things going on in
do
life. I wish I could, but there's too many things going on. I just know I can't catch up on all of them. And honestly, I mean, this is I've never been more envious of you than in these last month or so. I'm so tired with the Wolves and the Wild in the playoffs and both in the Western Conference. I've never wanted to live in the Pacific time zone more than I do right now.
Well, the great irony of that is that I'm not watching those games until like 9 o'clock at night anyway, because I'm getting my kids to bed or I'm doing the dishes, all those things, which, by the way, happy Mother's Day to all of our 10
Absolutely.
Female listeners out there. We hope that there's more of you. We're more like F1, which, okay, Hoges, I've been learning about F1. I listened to a podcast. It's a podcast called Acquired. It was a 4.5-hour episode about F1. I want you to know how much time I've devoted to this in like 15-minute snippets, right? Because I can never. So can you give me a quick primer on what you like about Formula One racing and what you and David do? Because I'm the one on the podcast that doesn't care for that or just hasn't been invested into it.
See, David's going to be mad at me about this. The thing that I like about Formula One is kind of what he likes about all those soccer shows. I like watching Drive to Survive. I think Drive to Survive is hilarious because you have all of these rich silver spoon kids and all their drama. It's like a weird reality TV show for rich dudes, I feel like that, and that's just what you're watching. So I like that. I like watching qualifying. I cannot stand watching the actual race. So
really?
I don't ever watch the actual race because qualifying's fun to bet on. The actual race, after about 2 laps, it's over. It's done. You know who's going to win.
Well, and that's what I learned about it. And then I was like, well, so then why does David set aside so much time to watch these shows watch the races on
I don't
delay?
know. I honestly, and he's going to murder me for this take, but I view it like the soccer shows. It's absolutely phenomenal when you're watching the show, and then you go to watch the actual game, and you're like, really? Really? People enjoy watching this. So the show's awesome, but the actual, highlights, sure, they're cool. The actual event, though, you lose me on it.
Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll watch Drive to Survive, and then I'll get back to you guys. Also, you had a game night with David.
Oh man,
feels like a month ago, right?
You
brought your wife. Did you bring your kids too?
We did not. That was actually kind of a funny part of the story. I asked David if we could because our kids have hung out together before. They get along really well, and his response was like, absolutely not. We'll be here until 3 a.m. if we bring them. This needs the ultimate focus. And I was like, whoa. What am I getting into?
Did you enjoy yourself?
All right, here's what I'll say. And this kind of goes on, those reels or whatever that you see where it's the wife making fun of the husband for oh, you went to play golf with so-and-so today. And
I'm your wife.
Sure,
right.
Sure.
And they're like, well, how is he doing? I don't know. He shot at 84. And that kind of a thing. So to be honest, David and I, a lot of what we talk about is baseball. So it was really fun hanging out with him and doing that. But then the game started, and this is what I texted him afterwards. After we'd been playing for about 3 hours, his wife went up to go help put their kids to bed because they had gotten back home from the grandparents' house. And David asked my wife and me a question, and I felt like I was coming out of a coma. I had been so focused on playing the game, and that's all I was thinking about. So it proved everything I've thought about board games. Like, I'm not recanting anything. I hate playing board games. I don't like it. I would have rather sat upstairs in David's living room and caught up and watched the Twins and drank some beer. That would have been a more enjoyable thing for me to do. So that is the most important part of what I'm going to say.
Right.
However, I did enjoy like his excitement. I think I sent you a picture. That's the happiest I've ever seen David look in my entire life. He was just grinning from ear to ear. It was fun to learn the game. I instantly wanted to play it again because I was regretting all the choices I had made and better strategy that I would do. So I had more fun than I was expecting that I would have. I actually felt like I picked it up. David was an unbelievable teacher.
Unbelievable. He's fantastic. Fantastic at that.
Like, and the thing that he did so well, I'm giving him way too many compliments right now, but the thing that he did so well is he like was able to like help me out with what I wanted to do in the game while not taking away any of my autonomy. Like, I felt like every decision I made was wholly mine and not influenced by him, but he was still able to tell me like what if I could do that or whatever. And he wasn't really giving me like, but that might be a bad idea. He didn't do that. He made it still my choices. But so he was great. The game was more fun than I thought. I would play it again, but like I don't get to see him that often, and so it's like I would rather.
But you see him in studio every time we do these.
Yeah,
these
that's
podcasts.
true. So very, very long-winded answer. If David was a phenomenal host, his dinner that we grilled burgers was phenomenal, but. I'd rather do something other than play a board game.
Maybe we can add that to the Patreon reward. So if people want to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and join the Patreon, maybe David will treat people to burgers and a game night. He's a great host.
It was a punishment, and it was an incredibly fun night. So,
well, we do have a series to talk about here. The Twins actually won the series.
Yeah, we're not trying to avoid anything here.
They took 2 out of 3. Let's. I'm going to try to hit both of these buttons here at the same time and see how I do here.
Series recap.
Well, game 1 here in Cleveland. The Twins do lose this game 6-4. A very winnable game here, Hogs. I'll run through things, and if you have anything to say, you just jump in. So, bottom of the first, a poor start. The Guardians get 4 runs off of Connor Prelip, including 2 on Travis Bazzana's first Major League home run. They've already given up a few of these like first Major League home runs before, and I always don't like being on the end of that.
That's such a great baseball name, though. You're like Bazzana. Like I love that. Like it's so sweet. I hate that he plays for the Guardians, but
and we're going to hear that name a lot. I think over
we
the
are,
course of
unfortunately.
the next decade, it feels like, and this episode. Twins have just 2 hits and a walk through 5 innings, but the top of the 6th, there's this one. So the Twins have 5 hits and just 1 run because your guy Ryan Jeffers is thrown out at home trying to score on a Luke Keeschall single. Was it the right call to send Jeffers at this point? Do you think?
Isn't this weird though? Like I was thinking about this after this game. We talked I can't even remember his name. Why am I blanking? Oh, Watkins. My goodness, that was insane. And now that he's gone, I don't even know what the third base coach's name is. And it feels like this might be the first time this year we've talked about whether or not they should have sent him. I always like the aggressive call, but I don't know. It's rough.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, watch.
It's incredibly hard.
I know the first baseman's coach now, Grady Sizemore, right? I know Grady Sizemore's name, which this was a homecoming for him. I learned a lot about him on the radio cast. But the Twins only get that 1. So, all right. So they're down 4-1. Prelip ends up going 5 innings. He allows 4 runs, but just 1 was earned because of a weird play in that first inning where Luke Keeschall charged for a ball, kind of like he grazed a base runner and then he spun out like you would spin out like taking some kind of a check in a hockey game. It was really weird. The ball gets by. Everything unravels. Funderburk pitches a clean bottom of the 6th, though, so it's still close. We're going to talk about Funderburk a whole lot later in the episode. I'm pretty upset about this. He does get the earned run in the bottom of the 7th. But in the top of the 7th, so I couldn't watch this game. I don't get Apple TV, so I watched kind of the last few innings on replay the next night. And at the top of the 7th, the Apple TV commentator, I don't know what his name is, but he says about Matt Wallner, he says, quote, "Right now, contact is something that is missing in his game." What?
What's there in his game right now?
Right. I just that is the most backhanded. It's not even a compliment. I mean, it's not trying to. That was a bizarre.
Well, it's clearly a comment by a commentator who's a national commentator that looks at his average and sees .156 or whatever the heck it is right now. And you're like, well, he's not hitting the ball. Like, It's so, and I know this is flyover country mentality right now, but it's so easy to just tell when they haven't watched a single game, where you're just like,
there he is, beating that dead horse.
Yeah, we're going to keep talking about this here. So, okay. So Lewis then singles, and then I'm noticing a graphic in the corner that says a 16% chance that Buxton gets a hit. And these are ridiculous numbers. It's so stupid. But then Buxton homers, right? And so it's 4-3. Was that a 16% chance that he like? What? Anyway, it's all gambling, and that's another episode.
Well, not even that. It's just stats that they're putting. I mean, I hate it. I hate those stats so much. It's like the win probability thing.
Yes.
I hate like when you're like, oh, they blew the game, and at one point in time they had a 99.7% chance of winning. I'm like, I don't care. Like all they had to get a higher score than the other team at the end of the game. How you're calculating that is annoying. I'm going to actually rip Gleeman a little bit here too. Like his win probability added metric that he always puts up every 25 games drives me nuts because so much of that is outside of your control. It's like if a pitcher is in and gets a guy to strike out with the bases loaded when you're up by 1, obviously that added a ton of win probability to the Twins' chances of winning that game. But it's no real difference than a pitcher who got the first out of that inning. Like it's an out is still an out. I get that there's more high pressure situations, but that stat just kills me.
Well, I got more of them for you. So
Thank you.
Okay, so Martin singles at the still top of 7th. He steals second, but then Jeffers and Bell each get out. So then comes the bottom of the 7th, and for the Guardians, there's an RBI probability here, and it's 16% when Jose Ramirez is up. And clearly no Twins fan is setting those stats because we know as Twins fans, when Jose Ramirez gets up, it's at least half the time that he gets a hit.
Yeah.
Sure enough, runner at third, 2 outs. You know he's getting a hit, and he does, so it's 5-3. Now, Martin makes a great catch-up against the wall to the next batter to end the inning, so that's good. And then the top of the 8th comes. Keyshaw walks. Lee pops out, and Victor Caratini has got to be in the mob.
With that name.
Do you look at that man and look at that bat that he's holding and think he might actually kill the catcher if something doesn't go right, or the umpire?
Victorini, I love that. It just works so well. I cannot think of him without thinking Victorini anymore.
Oh my gosh! Well, he singles actually. Wallner's up with an RBI probability of 30%,
which couldn't be more wrong.
Not a Twins fan here. They did actually point out. I want to say that they're listening to us because this is what they basically said.
Yeah, that's a moose.
They said he has a moose-like look. I don't know. That's not a compliment to call somebody.
Try saying that to your wife. I don't think that'll ever work.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, doesn't knock in a run. He flies out to center. It's not deep enough to score Keyshaw. Lewis grounds out to the inning. I say these things because this is a very winnable game for the Twins. Bottom of the 8th with a runner at first. Lee fields a grounder, touches second, but kind of takes his time throwing to first, and then Bazana, who on review beats it out, so they avoid the double play. And then he steals second. Then Rocchio is hit by a pitch. Then a double steal, so runners at second and third. And then my favorite thing, Hogs, infield in. The ball deflects off of Anthony Banda's having a hard enough year to not get a ball hit back at him. The ball deflects, scores a run, so it's 6-3. Now Banda makes a nice throw to get Rocchio at home on the next batter, and then he walks Kwan. But then he gets Gomez. But then Gomez comes in, gets Martinez to end the inning. And the top of the 9th is promising. Buxton hits a single. He looked so good in this series. Martin bloops one. But then Ryan Jeffers hits into a double play. Buxton scores, but that's it. And the Twins lose that game, Hogs, 6-4. Then we have game 2, where the Twins inexplicably win a one-run game in Cleveland.
The weirdest game ever.
Couldn't believe this happened. So this is not a game the Twins have won often, or maybe at all this year. I don't know what their stats are.
I don't know. I think in their history, I don't think they win this game, especially in Cleveland.
No, and the thing that gets me is that, of course, they win this in a year that doesn't feel meaningful.
Yeah,
right? This is
right.
a game that you would want them to win in a meaningful year, and they don't in those. They have 2 hits.
A game when most of us are caring a lot more about the Minnesota Wild.
Totally, exactly. So I saw this game was 1-1. It was going into extras, and I'm like, great, I'll watch the end of that later after the Wild game. So Buxton has 2 hits, and they're the only hits for the Twins in the whole game. And a home run early, and then an RBI double in the 11th. The Twins struck out 17 times in this game. Wallner and Belly struck out 4 times. They walked only 3 times. They were only 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, which in an extra inning game that went to the 11th, I mean, literally half of the at-bats. More than that.
You have six at-bats right away. Just by like minimum if you don't move anyone over.
Oh my gosh. But Guardians, though, only had 2 hits themselves. They walked 9 times, but they go 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. And somehow, Hogs, the bullpen held on to a lead. Joe Ryan, who is not dead and not totally out of this here. I mean, this was really remarkable to me.
I'm not dead.
He threw 107 pitches.
How does that happen?
Like this, he didn't miss a start. Oh, yeah. I don't know. That was weird.
Unbelievable. So anyway, 6 relievers come in after him, and Hogs, not one of them allowed a run. And this is not possible. Orsi ends up getting the win for pitching the 9th and I think most of the 10th, or most of the 9th and all the 10th. Luis Garcia gets the save. He's the latest off the scrap heap. Brooks Lee moves. Okay, the play of the game was Brooks Lee in the bottom of the 11th, moving to his left, spinning, rolling. The call is great if you hear Provost calling it. And he gets the final out at first with a runner coming in from third. Buxton's leadoff home run was the 13th of the season. At that point, he was tied for 4th in the majors. I mean, Hogs, this was the win of the year, I think, in so many ways.
Right? What you said sums it up perfectly, though. Like, I wish we cared more. I mean, we'd be talking about this forever. Although it still is funny to me. Like you put in the notes for Game 2, the fact that your notes weren't 3 lines long is still amazing to me. Like but so much happened in a game that nothing happened in. Yes. Right? Like it was just bizarre. And I liked what you said again too. Like it's something that I feel like we got just because we didn't care. So it was like you know what? Let me almost rub your face in dirt a little bit here, and you're gonna win one that you never have any business winning.
Well, take us through Game 3 here then, Hogs. Another Twins win.
All right, so weirdly, I don't know. Have you ever seen this before? Morris pitched in Game 2. He only threw 11 pitches and he threw 2/3 of an inning, but he ended up being the opener in this game. He threw a scoreless inning, did great. But have you seen that? Like, isn't that weird? I don't know.
No, that seems like a desperate move, and I think the Twins are kind of desperate at this point.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll get to that more because I have thoughts on just how Derek Shelton is using this lack of a bullpen. But in the top of the 3, Clemens doubles, Lee singles, and then a wild pitch scores Clemens, which just seems very typical for the Twins in this series. Just weird things happening in order to get runs. In the bottom 3, the Guardians. Wow, the Orioles. Where am I?
Close enough. Yeah.
The Guardians get 3 singles, and Ramirez obviously gets an RBI single with his 12% probability to knock in. How did you say Rocio? Is that what it is?
I think it's Rocio. It sounds like a vegetable more than a baseball player.
Rocio. Yeah, I can do that. Kreidler, Rocio. We got this. In the top of the 5th, the Twins really wake up. They put up 4 runs. They get another Clemens double, Lee with an RBI single, Lewis with an RBI double. Then Bell and Martin both follow up with RBI singles, and all of a sudden the game is 5-1. Were you feeling good with this?
No, not at all. I was helping kind of grill. I was helping my father-in-law grill, and I was like, I'm just waiting for this lead to erode. And it did, but never fully.
It did. A bullpen game with no bullpen. I mean, that's just what more could you want? In the bottom of the 5th, right away, the Guardians get 1 back again with you guessed it, Jose Ramirez RBI single. Then in the bottom of the 6th, DeLauder gets an RBI single. The bottom of the 8th, DeLauder grounds out with guys on 2nd and 3rd to get a run across. But then Ramirez walks. Garcia ends up getting out of that inning with no more damage. Twins up 5-4. Gomez comes in the 9th. Which, who comes in the bottom of the 9th, gets the save. Twins take 2 out of 3 from Cleveland on the road. What is happening here?
That was the 7th player to have a save for the Twins this year. Topa has 2.
Not a good thing.
Oh, my gosh. But, Hogs, if you're looking for a save right now, I've got something for you here. So we have a new sponsor called Drip Drop. And I have a lot to say about dehydration, Hogs. I'm a water pusher. You can ask my kids. You can ask my students. I want people to drink water all the time. It's the solvent for every problem. So, but being dehydrated, it doesn't feel good. You're irritable. It gives you brain fog. You have low energy. But we've discovered a new hydration hero, and its name is Drip Drop. It was invented more than a decade ago during life-saving humanitarian missions across the globe. Dr. Dolan created it for fast hydration where IVs weren't possible. Drip Drop is a next-level breakthrough in hydration. It's backed by 6 decades of science designed for both speed and taste to deliver the fastest hydration possible. It's like a secret weapon. 90% of all professional sports teams across the major sports use Drip Drop, including the Vikings and the playoff-bound Wolves, and, well, maybe the Twins. It's also used by the U.S. military, including Army Rangers and Navy SEALs. There's a reason the best choose Drip Drop. It's a superior product. Simply put, it works faster, it tastes better. So head to Amazon or dripdrop.com and order some Drip Drop. Mix with water and experience yourself the fastest way to hydrate.
Touch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Whew, that's a lot of buttons to press there in a row here, Hoges. So the listeners keep riding the Buxton train, and why not here? He gets them 15 points with the bonus. I picked Keyshaw, who had -1. David picked Lee, who had 5. You picked Jeffers with nothing. But, Hoges, the listeners here have really opened up a lead on the season.
Yeah, I deserve a half point here. I would just like to go and point out the listener that I called in order to give their pick was hemming and hawing and wanting to pick Jeffers over Buxton because Buxton had gone 1 for 5 in the last game of the series. And I was like, that would be about the stupidest pick I think I could ever come up with. And then he finally relented and was like, yeah, Buxton's probably the right pick here. I'm like, you think? So I would like to publicly on air say, you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair. So the listeners do now have a lead, 5.5 points. I'm at second with 4.5. David's got 4. Hoges, you have 2.5. But we have more to say about some of these characters here. Let's go into Beast versus Bench here.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Hoges, how about you give us a start here? I think yours is the obvious choice.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Buxton. Like, he won literally single-handedly outside of the pitching staff Game 3 with that homer and then the RBI double. In Game 1, he had a homer and a double. The man is absolutely on fire right now. It's hard to pick anyone else.
Yeah, I did pick someone else. I went with Brooks Lee. I think you meant to say Game 2 because that's what Buxton won there.
Yeah,
Lee was a big part of. No, you're okay. Lee was a big part of that too, though with his glove there, saving the game there in the bottom of the 11th. He continues to just get hits, which I think is really kind of nice and a little bit weird. He was 2 for 3 in Game 3. He's up to 751 OPS and a 276 average.
Yeah.
If ever there was a son of a coach, I think Brooks Lee fits that bill. Don't you think?
Yeah, and to do David's favorite game, if I told you that would be Brooks Lee OPS and his average, you'd have taken it 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, and we'll see. As for Bench, I went with James Outman because he barely appeared.
I think it's James Outmake.
Yeah, James Outmake. Sorry, I get his name wrong now. His OPS is 353. His OPS. Luis Arias has had better batting averages than that.
Yeah, that's...
I don't understand how he's still... I mean, you only get... 25, 26 spots on a roster? Like, how can you just ignore one of those position players? I don't understand why he's still here, Hoges.
I don't understand why a lot of guys are still here. I don't understand why the guy I picked is still here. I went with Matt Wallner. He was 0 for 8 with 6 Ks. I mean, it was despicable. The only good thing he did was he was the auto runner that scored on Buxton's RBI double in Game 2. So maybe here's my thought. I was trying to figure out how I could put a positive spin on this guy because he didn't play in Game 3 today. You know how when like a hockey player's going through a slump and they get an empty net goal and everyone's like, oh, this is it. He's going to start scoring again. Maybe Wallner needed to just score that run that he wasn't on base because of anything he did besides get out. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what Wallner needs.
He needs a Cody Clemens equivalent appearance by a player on the other team, right? Like he needs a home run off of a position player to jack back into a target field, that third deck in right field. Like because I think the Twins, obviously they're a better team when Wallner is good. Yeah. You feel bad for the guy actually that like he has worked so hard and it's not working. And I just don't know what else he needs other than like the traditional annual like trip to AAA. Like that, isn't that right? What he seems like he needs? Yeah,
or like to get hurt real quick and then like one of those fake injuries, where it's like, oh, we're going to the IL, which maybe that like couple days off that he might get a couple more now. I know Shelton's been trying to do that with some of the guys. He did it with Lewis. I don't know. There's a lot of guys struggling on this team right now to hit the ball, and we'll see what kind of moves they have, if any.
Well, that's a good transition here into Derek's debrief.
You ever seen Buck with his pants down? No.
Derek's debrief.
That is the best sounder we've got now, right?
I've heard it so many times, and I laugh every time. It doesn't, even if I know it's coming, it still gets me. I still laugh. And then I think about how much of a moron I was on it too, and that makes me laugh even more.
So I'm actually going to talk about a guy. We have a sounder for him. We rarely play it. So Kody Funderburk got sent down to make room for Kendry Rojas. Kody Funderburk has a 2.81 ERA, 19 appearances, which are the second most on the team. What on earth is Derek Shelton supposed to do when he's already been kneecapped here?
Yeah.
Like, how do you send down this guy? I get that he's got options left, but like, doesn't this make absolutely no sense? And what is Derek supposed to do?
Send anybody else down. Like, I don't care. Like, you have one guy that's performing halfway decent out there in the bullpen. And I get it. He's a lefty. There's limited options where you're going to use that. But still, like, who cares? Look at the other options. It's the same thing we argue about not argue, but like with pinch hitting. Like, I don't care if a guy's got really bad splits against against a lefty. Just keep him in there, because even if he's still batting, like if he bats 300 against righties and 211 against lefties, that's still better than this guy's 150 against lefties. So it's just, this seems like we're trying to be too cute.
It's not your fault, all right? It's not your fault.
Again, Derek Shelton's he gets at least a year's mulligan here. You have a question also for him about the ball. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this leads into mine, and it's a little frustrating because I totally agree with you guys, but every single Derek's debrief, you guys lead it off with like, what else is he supposed to do? And that's true. It's undeniably true, but it's frustrating. Like, it shouldn't be true. So my question is, would it be better if he defined bullpen roles for this team, just so guys know when they're coming in? I get that there's not a true closer. There's not a true setup man, but would it help?
So sometimes I put students in groups in class, and I nominate captains because things go better when there's a captain in the group. And I think that logic does apply here. I think it's been, and we'll talk about the significance of May 10th. Like, it's been 6 weeks now, and I think it would actually help to have a pecking order. And then, were you ever in band? Did you ever?
I wasn't,
well,
actually.
I'll explain this to you. So this will be fun. So every instrument group has like chairs, right?
Yeah.
First chair, second
Yep.
chair. You're familiar with this. And
I
you
am.
can challenge up, right? So like,
Yep.
if you want to be the seventh chair, then the eighth or whatever, like silly things like that. That's what this bullpen kind of needs, maybe, because I don't know what else like some internal competition mechanism. So I think that would be right. The problem is they just cut the top off. They just cut chair one, right? Like Kody Funderburk.
Yeah.
I literally said last week, Kody Funderburk would be the guy that I would want with the ball in his hands to try to get an out in a key situation. And then they get rid of him.
Because we have so many other good options laying around.
And he should be option 6, right? Like,
yes.
Like Kody should not be your guy.
No.
And yet here he is, nicest guy, right? Like, just had a baby. Wife's got health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you send him to St. Paul. Like, did they put him on the green line? Like, did they just, here you go, Kody. We'll pay for your fare.
Shelton heard you giving him all those props for how the Twins handled that, and he was like, maybe we're getting too much good press here. Let's send him down to AAA.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's not his call. I'm sure it wasn't his call.
That's true.
All right, let's move on here to the Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
So you've got a Game 2 one. How about you start, Hoges?
Yeah, I stole all the easy ones from you this entire episode,
fine.
but I'm going with Buxton's game-winning hit in Game 2. That was awesome. Like, again, he won. He got 2 hits. There were 2 hits that game. He got them both. They won the game 2-1. Finally won a 1-run game in Cleveland. That's fun doing that. Let's do it in more meaningful games going forward.
Yeah, and for Game 3, I'm kind of the same line of reasoning. The bullpen got out of so many jams. They actually got Jose Ramirez out a few times,
Which is shocking. Thinking
I know.
like,
Even Travis Adams got him out. Which I guess there's no better time to play this here. I mean, this bullpen with glue and tape. Do your kids like to play with tape? By the way,
they're boys. They'll play with anything that makes a mess. Yes, sign them up.
Incredible. It's just I see tape everywhere. I see tape is airport runways.
Yes,
tape is holding things to things that shouldn't be.
Every time I walk into the kitchen, I have tape on the bottom of my socks, and it's like, where did this come from?
So much tape. Anyway, but they got out of these jams in Game 3 that they haven't gotten out of in years. I hope that this gives them confidence here going forward, because, gosh, it would be nice if this team was at least still just a little bit relevant into the rest of the season.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward. We got some questions for this team in Mauer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
Let me go first here because I like your existential question. So the Twins have lost a lot of starting pitchers. How much do you think the absence of Pablo Lopez has actually hurt this team in the win-loss column or in other ways?
Well, I was gonna say in the win-loss column, probably not all that much because the bullpen's still crappy. So like there comes a certain point where it doesn't matter if he only gives up 2 runs if you're still giving up 6 runs the rest of the game. So maybe a win or 2, probably, which doesn't change the outlook on this team a whole lot. I think his leadership does matter a lot, and I know they're calling him like an assistant pitching coach lately. They keep calling that on the broadcast, which is pretty sweet. So I think he's still getting that. Maybe morale, like when that happened right away in spring training, that's pretty brutal to just start off like that. But it's just not to keep beating the dead horse. This team needs a bullpen. If we don't have a bullpen, I don't really beating that dead horse. I don't care what else we have. I don't, and it's a few, but not as much as if we had a competent bullpen.
It's just a shame to see that there's such a quick and easy fix. Well, it's not quick and easy, I guess, but it's addressable.
But it is easy. It's cheap. It is cheap.
But do you think that they just thought, well, anybody can
I don't
pitch
know.
Out of the bullpen?
I think that's what's so frustrating. Like I loved your rant in the last episode where you were saying 15 million, and I think that's high. Like I don't even think you needed that in order to have a competent bullpen. And that's what's so frustrating about this, because the easiest thing to do is construct a bullpen, right? Because there's guys can pitch until they're in their 40s out there. Like they do, good relievers do grow on trees. It's one of the few positions that
I'm 40.
if you need to fix, you can fix it. And they did nothing. And that's just Dan or David for tossing you in there was so right. That is the angriest I've ever heard you. And if I just played it for my wife, she'd be like, was he smiling when he said that? But no, it was just so dead on. And it sums up how I feel about this team. It's you need a premier shortstop. That's hard to find. You need a reliever who can give you a 3.5 ERA. They grow on trees. Right. They literally grow on trees.
What's your question here, Hogs?
Oh, I'm too mad now. It's funny to me when I was looking at the schedule and I saw that David was not going to be recording on May 10th because his whole thing was if this team is
trade
500.
Deadline thing. He's always gone for the trade deadline because he's at the gaming convention.
Exactly.
In Indianapolis.
Oh, but he's like the 500 by May 10th. May 10th has officially been today. Wow, that was the dumbest way I've ever said that in my life. That's my son. Whenever he's telling his friends that I'll see them tomorrow, he'll say, "I'll see you on the morrow," and it makes me so happy, right? Every time he says it, or the next tomorrow.
Oh, I love that.
Now that we've hit May 10th, this team is 18-23, I believe.
Yep.
Has your opinion changed from right now from the start of the year? Because it's been a little up and down, right? They looked really good for a while. Where are you on the scale?
Well, first I want to mention that they're in last place in the Central and they're 2.5 back from the Guardians. So
right, like.
They're within. I mean, at least they could make this fun and competitive. They've won 5 of their last 10, which is the definition of being a 500 baseball team. I think a couple of ways that my opinion has changed. I think that this lineup. Well, I already thought this. I think this lineup is competent. I think they can score enough runs, like to keep up.
You're weirdly being proven right on that.
but hold on. Brooks Lee, I thought was going to have a pretty good year, and Brooks Lee's actually Buxton's having a beyond category year. I was wrong about Matt Wallner. The bullpen problem is worse than I anticipated. I thought that they would not be the 29th best team or 30th in the majors. Maybe they're a little better now after these 2 games. That was a much worse problem than I anticipated. The starting pitching depth has been surprisingly resilient based on all the injuries that they've had. I still wish, gosh, what if David Festa had been able to be a relief pitcher and what difference that could have made? So while I think I did not think that they would be 500 at May 10th, but 18-23 isn't that different than what I think. If you had told me that, sure, I think that's okay. And then at least they're still kind of competitive and decent to watch on a series by series basis.
I agree. I think I'm about in that same range. I think maybe a tick better than I thought that they would be. They're not great by any sense of the word, and we're definitely buoyed by them having just that incredible run, that 9 out of 10 or whatever it was. So I think the record will probably get a little bit worse. But I think I picked them to lose 99 games. I think I would drop that by a little bit, maybe in the upper 80s. I don't think I am going to win my bet that they have the worst team in baseball.
Well, and we haven't even seen, and I know that Wally Jenkins is hurt, and we haven't, but I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen any of those top hitting prospects yet.
And we're
again,
2.5 out. We're 2.5 out. Like we'd take that.
And is that enough of a difference for a guy like, when Walker Jenkins can come back? I think that's a gap that even a player like him, and maybe bring Kalen Culpepper up. I mean, I think you could put those guys in for a guy like, certainly at least James Outman, and maybe even Tristan Gray.
Yeah.
And your team is better at that point.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's think about grading this series here, Hogs.
Series grades.
It is traditional, Hogs, that I go second. So you go ahead here and go first.
This one was tough because I haven't recorded in a while. So I think I tend to go back to the last time I recorded, and that was with David about a month ago, right after the huge win. The Twins were on a roll, and then it's been so. I'm giving them a B-. I wanted to give them a lower grade. I did because I'm summing up what I've seen in the last month. But this was a pretty decent series in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Game 2 was ugly, but they won. Yeah. B- feels about right because I feel a little icky with it, but it's still a B.
Well, okay, I'm going to get to the same figure, but I'm going to get there as a teacher does. So the veterans, I gave an 8 out of 10. Buxton was so good. I thought Jeffers, he had some untimely grounded to double plays and some things, but he's providing veteran leadership for this team. And again, this was on display here. The mids, man, 7 out of 10. I don't even know really. I mean, I guess this is kind of like a guy like Royce Lewis is kind of a mid, but he was better this series. Yeah. Cody Clemens is a mid, but he was a little bit better. There's still Trevor Larnach wasn't a big factor in this, but the youth I thought was on display. I thought Keyshaw, again, one thing Luke Keyshaw continues to do is get on base.
Yep.
And you just need guys who can do that. Brooks Lee is continuing to be a revelation here in the lineup. I think Martin is going to be a guy who should be playing 130, 140 games this year for this team. So I gave them a 9 out of 10. And then the starters, I gave a 7 out of 10. I don't know what to do with game 3 because I didn't really have a starter.
Right.
Rojas was okay. I don't know what you do. And then I had to give the bullpen a 9 out of 10 because what more can you get out of this?
Yeah.
So that comes up to be a 40 out of 50, which is a B-, Hogs. And I don't know what you do with the B-, but that's okay.
Yeah. They won 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. I mean,
yeah. Well, can you tell us about our other sponsor here, Hogs? Cascade CBX. Fine. Yeah.
You could say CBD is a miracle drug, and you wouldn't be wrong. The list of benefits of using CBD is long. Use it to knock out pain. Use it to reduce inflammation. Use it to sleep better. And when you choose Cascade CBX Sport, you get these benefits plus the peace of mind that their products are NSF certified for sport. CBD can help everyone from your aging grandmother managing her arthritis to a weekend warrior easing aches and pains, all the way to a college or pro athlete who doesn't want to risk their sponsorship or scholarship and needs sports CBD products free of over 300 banned substances. Visit Cascade BX. Visit Cascade BX Sport and trust the Shield to stay on the field.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
So I'm going to feel old with this one, Hogs, but I am going to ask you the question anyway.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Do you remember Bobby Cox as a manager for the Braves?
Absolutely. I watched so many Braves-Yankees World Series with my grandpa in his basement, and there's nothing better than watching Bobby Cox get ejected. I know he did pass away this week. How old was he? I think he was 87.
84 he was, yeah.
It was one of the more enjoyable obituary reading for this guy, just because of his ejections were so funny, and so many people had stories about this guy. He was definitely a character. He's who I think of when I think of old school baseball, when you're thinking of Tommy Lasorda and those kind of guys that knew when they had to go out there and just lose their mind for a little bit. Manager of some phenomenal Atlanta teams. It was a cool trip down memory lane with reading all these guys' memories of him.
He won 2 World Series if you count the 77 year with the Yankees when he was their first base coach, but then in 95 with the Braves. And I'm so glad, as much as, I didn't necessarily love those Braves teams growing up because they were kind of, the adversary of the Twins in the 91 series. I was glad to see them win a World Series. You want a franchise like that to win one. 4-time manager of the year.
Well, they dominated the 90s.
Yeah.
Like they did, just not in the World Series column.
They kept running into those good American League teams.
Yeah.
Totally other end of the spectrum here. One other note. This is actually about a week and a half old, but it came across my feed. So Michael Wacha of the Royals had kind of an interesting moment where he's got his necklace around his neck, and it was bothering him, or it came unchained or something like this. And he's pitching, right? And so he kind of pulls it off and quickly shoves it into his pocket, and then throws kind of a quick pitch, because I would assume because of the pitch clock. The A's batter, they're playing at the Athletics, doesn't really even swing. And then the Athletics hitting coach kind of chirps at the umpire and ends up getting tossed for this. I got to put my tinfoil hat on a little bit here. Is it possible that veteran pitcher Michael Wacha had faked a necklace break? Yeah, faked a necklace break, had some kind of sticky stuff, and put that on his hands for the one pitch. It sounds ridiculous.
Got it out of his system. I think you've been talking to David too much in order for that take.
You don't think that's possible? That there was something silly going on there?
I think you could think of a better way of doing that.
I'm a little stitious.
It's a funny thing with the pitch clock, though, right? I mean, a lot of that wouldn't have happened without, he wouldn't have been trying to quick pitch him.
See?
The batter wouldn't have cared as much. The umpire probably would have just called time. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on. Probably the first time this has happened in baseball where they had to worry about that, because the pitch clock hasn't been around that often. But yeah, that was wild. It was just goofy.
I love it. Well, here, that's all we got for that. Let's go forward here to the Puckett's picks for this Marlins series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's picks.
So, unsurprisingly, the listeners will stick with Byron Buxton. I'm next. I had to go with Ryan Jeffers. I can't ignore the fact that he's batting. I mean, his OPS is around 900.
Yeah.
So even though he's only going to play maybe 2 of the 3, you got to think that he's the pick there. Hoges, you are next. Who are you going to go with?
Puckett's picks has lost a little bit of its luster lately. Which Buxton and Jeffers are 1-2. There's not other picks to go with. But then it gets really interesting after that. I went with Luke Keyshaw. I felt like maybe Austin Martin. I felt like maybe Brooks Lee. It's tough. There's these guys that it's so hard because they don't hit a lot of home runs outside of Jeffers and Buxton to get those points.
Totally. Well, David is going to stick with his guy, Brooks Lee. Not a surprise there. So we'll see. We'll see. If anybody can unseat Buxton, I suppose that would be the way. I don't see.
I still have a problem with how David has these scores. I really want it to be whoever gets second best gets to pick right after the listeners, because otherwise you're never rewarded for doing better after that. You just get stuck in that second to last pick for the rest of your life.
Well, we talked about that. We'll have to take that up at our next team meeting here. Well, Hoges, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun to kind of get together and talk about these things. I think I'm going to go ahead and send us out here. Folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite platforms so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you'd leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoges Hoganson. 3 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!
Look at